Boys, what's up, Twitch and YouTube? It's Murphy55 coming to you with another episode of Around the Gjallarhorn. This is episode 37 of the podcast series, and we've got my guy JOKERCALE here today to answer some questions, tell us a little bit about himself and his channel and you know, what he does as a full-time content creator. You know, we'll talk a little bit of sports and we'll talk a little bit of Madden today, but first and foremost, Joker, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be in here, man. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir, of course.
Yeah, so I know you've been grinding like crazy lately. Like you've been, you know, there's very few days that I can think that I've logged onto Twitch and not seen you on there for 7 hours, you know, doing your thing and grinding. How are you feeling right now? How's the state of Madden as of today? I was watching a bit of your stream earlier on. I was kind of lurking in the shadows there. What's the state of the game right now, in your opinion?
I feel like it gets worse and worse by the day, but I mean, it's the game we all continue to play. So, I mean, it can be rough, but at the same time, you're just playing it for fun at the end of the day, so can't take it too serious.
For sure, and you know, it's tough to, when you approach something, you know, we'll get into this later on in the podcast, what it means to be a full-time streamer and commit so much of your time to, you know, playing this game of Madden. You know, it's tough to find that fun factor. When you look at it as a job, too, sometimes, I'm sure it can take away from that. But, you know, before we get into all that, I wanted to kind of talk to you about your origin story, where you're from. You know, I know you have a whole bunch of Baltimore stuff. I see the Orioles pennant behind you. I know you're a big-time Ravens fan. Are you from Baltimore or from the Baltimore area?
I live in Delaware, so stayed over.
Oh, okay, nice. And yeah, I guess Delaware is a fairly small state, too, geographically speaking. So would you say most of the people in Delaware are also, like, diehard Ravens fans, or is it kind of split loyalties amongst a few different teams?
It's kind of a mix. It's Steelers, Ravens, and Eagles are the three you see the most here.
Yeah, true. And you know, so growing up, you know, when you were a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, like, when did you first start getting into watching football and kind of becoming a fan of the sport?
I wasn't into football really until I was probably like 7 or 8, so around that. So probably like late 2000s, early like 2010, 2011 is when I really started like watching football, and that's when I really became like a fan of the team, I guess.
Okay, yeah, and you know, this is kind of drawing attention to the age difference here too. You're a much younger guy than me. How old are you, Joker? I actually don't know, but I know you're a young buck.
I'm 19. I turned 20 in like 20-something days.
Jeez, man. Okay, I had no clue. I had no idea that you're kind of closer in age to Go Geezy than you are to me. But you know, it's that's a W. Like, you kind of missed out, you know, on those early 2000s Ravens teams. You know, when Ray Lewis was just coming into the league. Like, that's kind of, I probably got big into football around 2002, and that Ravens defense was like a thing of legend. Like, it was just like, it was hard not to root for the Ravens with guys like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs. But you know, the nice part is that they kept their core together for so long that when you were kind of approaching the time when you got into football, some of those players are still there and still, you know, fairly effective. What was the year when the Ravens won their Super Bowl? I think Ray Lewis's last season they made a push, right, to get back to the Super Bowl.
Sure it was 2012, 2013, that season.
Yeah.
So it was quite a bit ago.
Yeah, and you know, really at that point, they had gone on to have probably one of the best defenses in NFL history for about a decade, which, you know, I don't know what the identity of the current Ravens would be in your opinion. You watch a lot of Ravens football now. Would you say that the Ravens are still known for their defense, or what is their team identity right now? What are their strengths and weaknesses that you see this year?
At least the last few games, it's been more reliant on defense. Early in the year, we struggled a lot because we had a lot of young guys there, but our offense has actually been carrying us the last few years since we've been under Lamar. So, I mean, obviously he's injured now. Hopefully he's back for the playoffs, but our defense, as of late, has definitely been standing out more than usual.
Yeah, and speaking of Lamar, like, a really exciting quarterback, but also a guy who gets like a ton of the negative press just as like, oh, he's not a quarterback, he's a running back. Like, you know, he's had an MVP caliber season. He's been MVP before. In your opinion, like, where does Lamar rank as far as the top quarterbacks in the league at this very moment?
When he's healthy. At his best, probably like the 7, 8, 9 range. But right now, I mean, he means a lot more to the team than people give him credit for. But I would say he's definitely at least top 10 right now, for sure.
For sure. And do you foresee him, you know, obviously this season's been a bit of a strange one with him missing so much time with injury. Do you ever see him getting back into that top 5 quarterback category? Do you think that he has that potential still?
As long as we move on from our coordinator. our
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. I definitely think so. He's kind of limited because first off, the receiving core is just not great right now because of
Yeah.
injuries and because it's just not good. But um, in order to take the next step to continue getting better, I feel like we need to move on from who we have now and look to the future and kind of grow from there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting too because obviously the worst case scenario for his career, he's already had a much better career than RG3 just given the MVP season and the success. But like, what you worry about some of these mobile quarterbacks, like RG3 looked incredible his rookie year and looked pretty good in his second year, and then playing that style of play where you're asked to run the ball for 100 yards a game and be really a versatile runner and take a lot of hits. There's always that pressure to kind of change quarterbacks and turn him into a pocket passer and keep him healthy. Do you think that his ability to run, which kind of makes him special, is something they'll continue to do, or do you think that they're going to try and protect him and get him to kind of sit back and become more of a traditional quarterback going forward? What would you like to see?
Honestly, I would like to see him grow as a passer and move more in that direction. But at the end of the day, he knows how to protect himself when he is running. Both times he's got hurt has been like in the pocket because someone missed a block. So
Yeah,
I kind of feel safer as a fan if he's doing what he usually does because he's so good at avoiding things like getting injured that
yeah,
it kind of helps him.
yeah.
But I
For
don't
sure.
know. It doesn't really matter as long as we're winning and he's playing well. I don't really care how it happens.
Exactly, and it's funny like comparing him to a guy like Mike Vick. I mean, I feel like Mike Vick was like obviously like a powerhouse runner in his heyday, like going for 1,000+ yards every single season, and really like anytime he dropped back, you knew it was going to be either a designed run or like there was that option for him to take off. But I feel like Lamar might even have better instincts than him running in a small space. Like his footwork and agility and the way that he kind of stops on a dime is something that I don't even think I saw. Like Vic might have had more power, but Lamar's got kind of that footwork. Hopefully he can kind of stay healthy and keep that skill set. And it's always a dangerous thing to be able to have a quarterback who can get out and make something happen. Even somebody like Russ Wilson too, who had a lot of success. Even though he's not a prolific runner in the same way. So speaking of Baltimore sports, like, does your love of Baltimore sports like extend to other teams as well? You're an Orioles fan too.
Yes, I am an Orioles fan.
Yeah, how's that been going for you for the last few years? The Orioles have had a tough, worst division in baseball in my opinion. I'm also an AL East fan with the Jays, and it feels like we're constantly battling against the Yankees and Red Sox, and now the Rays too.
Yeah.
We're just always a good ass team. What's the Orioles' future looking like as of right now?
It's actually looking pretty good. This was the first year in a while that it's actually been like, wow, we might actually be good.
Yeah,
Because we have a really good farm system. We finally called up Adley this year. We have Gunnar coming in. We have a lot of young people coming in that hopefully will turn the team good. We almost made the playoffs this year, and we were supposed to suck again, so
yeah,
it's looking good.
It's crazy. Like there were at one point in the year, the AL East had like halfway through the season, everybody was above 500. Like that's not. For me, I'm kind of like not opposed to a division realignment. Almost, I feel like the AL East has too many powerhouse teams in one place, and I can't imagine that a team like Tampa's even going to be around forever because they get no fans showing up to their games anyways. Like, it seems like the league's really trying to just keep them there as long as they can. But I don't know, man. I think it's a tough year again. The Yankees are always going to spend a lot of money. But I'll tell you what, the Orioles killed the Jays last year. I hate it. Like, Ryan Mountcastle, every time we face him, he looks like Barry Bonds. The guy's hitting like 3 home runs in a game against us.
Yeah.
But yeah, who knows? Could just be matchup related. Big Evo in the chat. See a lot of people hanging out in the chat right now. Appreciate you guys coming through. Guys, make sure you follow Joker on all socials. We got the !point Joker command as well. But yeah, what about basketball? Like, is there a team you root for? Because I know Delaware doesn't have a team. Who's the go-to NBA franchise for your state?
I actually grew up really, really young as a Heat fan, honestly, but that was just because my brother liked LeBron and I just rooted for who he rooted for. But once I was old enough to like kind of pick the team I wanted to root for, I ended up picking the Bulls when they had Derrick Rose, obviously.
Yeah.
But my favorite player right now is Jimmy Butler, so I kind of follow wherever he is, which happens to be Miami, and I'm also a Bulls fan.
Yeah, man. Miami. Well, I'm a big fan of DeMar DeRozan, like, because as a Raptor, he's like kind of royalty here in Toronto. He spent the first 8 or 9 years of his career, and sadly we had to trade him right before we won our championship to get Kawhi Leonard, which I wouldn't take it back, but love his leadership. the Bulls are kind of, again, an interesting situation where they got guys like Zach LaVine. They got a lot of scorers, like a lot of high-powered offense. But again, they're kind of like middle of the road. Like it seems like they're paying a lot of guys big contracts to kind of be a 500 team. It's funny. I was looking on the NBA.com and Jimmy Butler. Do you remember at the beginning of the year this year? He for his picture day he put like these huge dreads in. And now that's his picture for the entire season. I saw him in the All-Star voting with these dreads. I was like, what? Like, who is this guy? I guess he's a troll. I don't know. But how are the Bulls looking this year, though? Do you think they'll make the playoffs? Do you think they have a chance to get in the play-in game? Or
I would hope they at least make the play-in. I mean, I think they're a pretty solid roster. DeMar and Zach just need to be on the same page, and I think they'll be pretty fine. But I feel like it's always one or the other going off. If they both can, like, equal out and just be solid, I think they'll be fine.
For sure. And DeMar, the one knock against him was, I guess, maybe defense and the three-point shooting. He's never become a three-point shooter, but he's got probably one of the best mid-range jump shots in the league. I definitely miss watching him play, so I'm glad you get to experience the DeMar DeRozan experience for sure. But moving on, did you ever play sports growing up? Was that something you were interested in? Like, what kind of sports did you play, as a kid?
I played baseball basically my whole life up until, like, when I finished high school. So, like, from very, very little until probably 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, what positions would you have played in baseball?
I played short and second a lot. Second was probably my favorite position to play, which is probably where I played the most up until, like, later on.
Yeah, and so would you say, like, still, like, as far as a viewer of sports, would baseball be your favorite to watch, or are you more, like, all in on the NFL right now?
I really don't watch baseball as much, but now that the Orioles are getting good, I might have to start watching. But football is, like, the main sport I watch. I barely watch basketball other than the playoffs, just because there's so many, like, I feel like the NBA regular season is, like, meaningless at the end of the day, especially because there's so many teams that make the playoffs now. Like,
yeah, true.
Just not my favorite.
And baseball even more so with, like, 162 game season. Yeah. Like, baseball is nice because it's always on. You can always turn on the TV and there's a baseball game every single day. But at the same time, any win or loss isn't too emphatic, really. Whereas football, even with the 17 game season now, it's like each week is like it's like an event. Like, it really is important. Every loss you take hurts more. Every win feels better. As far as playoff seeding goes right now, where are the Ravens at? Are they're locked in? I know, to make the playoffs, but
yes, they're at the 6th seed right now. They kind of just got screwed with how they ruled the Bengals-Bills game is a no contest. So we kind of have zero chance to win the division now, but we could win home field advantage with a coin toss, which is always nice.
Oh, geez. And who is it looking like you guys will be facing in the first round if the playoffs were today?
If we lose and the Chiefs and the Bills win, we will be playing the Bengals in the first round in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
which we're playing tomorrow.
So you're getting, like, a precursor potentially to what that playoff matchup could be. So do you think there's, like, when it is like that, when there's a good chance you're going to play back-to-back weeks, do you think that the Ravens are going to be, like, hiding certain things? Do you think they're going to be running some off-meta stuff that they wouldn't typically run to kind of disguise what they might do in the playoffs? Or are they going to try and give their best effort to try and gain some momentum?
Obviously, I think they're going to want to win, but I think there's a reason that Lamar's not playing because apparently his knee is still swelling. I don't know. That's just the rumor. He's supposed to play next week. Yeah. I feel like he could play this week if he had to, but I feel like there's a reason we're being cautious this week. We're not going to force people to play because we're probably going to be playing Cincinnati anyways.
Yeah.
So it's just whether we're playing at home or playing on the road.
Absolutely. And, I've seen kind of injuries. The Vikings were one of the healthiest teams all through the year this year, and then the last couple of weeks we had our starting right tackle go down with an Achilles injury. Like, we've seen huge offensive line injuries that really I don't see how we win a single playoff game with the way our roster's looking now. So definitely better to err on the side of caution. Another thing I wanted to ask you about. So, we talked about your sports background, the teams you root for. But let's talk about video gaming a little bit. Like, do you remember what was your first console that you had growing up, or the one that you played on the most?
Probably the just original Xbox was probably the first thing I ever played on.
Yeah, and what games were you into, like, back when you started out playing? I
used to play Halo a lot when I was little.
Yeah,
Halo was like the thing.
Yeah, that was actually, it's funny because I'm much older than you, but I think the first ever new console I got was also the original Xbox too. Like, I always had old consoles that were like 10 years behind. Never had the cutting edge stuff, but Yeah, Halo's a lot of fun. Do you ever play Halo now? Like, I know it's online. You can get it. You can play it on PC. Or have you kind of moved away from that and focused full time on Madden at this point?
I haven't played Halo in a very long time, honestly. I can't remember the last one I played, but right
Yeah.
now it's basically just Madden for me.
Yeah, and going to Madden as well. Like, what was your first Madden game that you picked up? Do you remember which year?
The first Madden game I ever played was '08. I don't know what year it was that I was
Yeah,
playing it,
yeah.
but that was the first Madden I ever played. Was it Madden '08?
And in oh 08, what were you doing back then? Were you playing like I don't even know if like online was as big of a thing back then. Were you playing like franchises and stuff like that, or what kind of modes were you playing when you first got
I
started?
would I would basically just randomize versus CPU like two teams, and I would just pick one and play as one.
Yeah, yeah. And when was it that you first got into MUT? Like like the online mode that's probably the most popular and profitable for EA. What was your first year grinding MUT?
Um, my first MUT I ever played was probably Madden 15, but I didn't start like playing heavy and like actually trying to get better at the game and stuff till Madden 18.
Yeah, and that's kind of the next thing I wanted to ask you about. So when did you kind of realize that you were good at this thing and you were potentially wanting to compete and potentially sign up for MCS events and stuff like that? Did it start out with money games or did you go sign in for like one of those LCQ type things, or how did that competitive journey get started for you?
It actually started from Weekend League. So 18, the big reason I started trying to get better at the game was Weekend League in 18, which is when it originally came out. I sucked really bad that year, but like towards the end of 19 is when I started to actually get good, going 21 and 4, 22 and 3, stuff like that. And
Yeah.
then it kind of just grew from that. And next thing you know, first thing in Madden 20, first tournament, clubs, I end up making the live event for the Ravens. So that
Yeah.
was like the turning point, I guess you could say.
And what mode was it that year? Was it MUT? Was it salary cap for clubs, or like what
It
mode were they
was
playing?
it was salary cap actually back
Yeah.
in Madden 20. So I'm pretty sure that was the last year of salary cap.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because a lot of the things you mentioned about that kind of drew you into the competitive scene are now things that we haven't seen in a while. Salary cap no longer used in live events. Weekend league no longer around. They got MUT champs in which in my opinion sucks. I hate it. It seems like they're kind of taking away a lot of the things that drew the comp community into Madden in the first place. Well, what are your thoughts on the new MUT champs format, like being able to play your games over the course of the week, or did you prefer the old way of locking in from Thursday to Monday and trying to get all 25 in?
I definitely think we should get Weekend League back. I don't mind it being like a full week thing, but
Yeah,
there should be some type of rewards other than the competitive pass because head-to-head rewards are better. Like you might as well
yeah,
just play head-to-head. I feel like there's no value to it. The whole point of Weekend League on why it was good is because you had 50 or 25 games. You tried to improve every week because the rewards were better. You wanted to get better. Now it's just the same rewards for everybody, basically.
yeah, exactly. And really, once you hit, I think, 30 wins, so let's say you win 15 games a week, which is like an average player can do that.
Mhm.
There's really no incentive to keep playing at that point because there's no more like +2 CP for a win. Like it kind of, if I hit my goals really early on, I'm not gonna just grind through 25 games for the hell of it. And it's
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't know if the casual Madden fan cares so much. I know everybody I watch on Twitch and most people are fairly competitive. They miss it, but in the grand scheme of how many people own the game of Madden, hopefully they bring it back. Hopefully there's enough pressure from the comp community to get it back in next year. I wouldn't even be opposed to having MUT champs during the week in All Pro and then have Weekend League being in All Madden or something, and just for the 4 days. I mean, something like that I think would be good. I think we were all happy to see this year, again, from a comp perspective, All Madden seasons being a thing right from the get-go. However, they didn't add a leaderboard, so is that something you'd like to see added going forward as well?
Definitely leaderboard would be nice or of some sort because I don't know. It's just things are changing and I feel like they're changing for the worse. So I feel like they
Yeah,
need to adjust back and realize. Obviously, at the end of the day, they're not trying to appeal to the competitive people. They're trying to appeal to the normal.
yeah,
Come home from work, play Madden.
yeah,
They're
absolutely.
trying to appeal to the casual fan base. So you can't really be too mad at it, but it obviously sucks, at least from my perspective, that there's no like competitive aspect to the game right now, other than money games or tournaments and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And are money games still something that you do regularly to get reps in against high level competition? Have you been doing a lot of them this year?
I used to play them a little bit earlier in the year when I felt like the game was better, but as of right now, I really just play head to head and play maybe a couple rep games versus people I know, like that I talk to every
Yeah.
day. But
Yeah.
that's really all I do. I don't really play money games like that anymore. I might get back into them later in the year if like content and all that gets really dry,
Yeah.
but as of right now, I'm not.
So basically March. Once March hits, content's always like super dead. I mean, I guess we do get golden tickets, but you know that
Mhm.
last couple months when we're waiting for the new game is always you got to find ways to kind of do cartwheels just to keep people interested in watching Madden. And you know another thing I wanted to get into as well because I know your stream was really popping. Like you always have a lot of people in your stream and a you know bunch of loyals that come back in no matter what day of the week, what time you're streaming at. But did you notice kind of a jump in the channel during the 12 days of Mutmas, the drops that they were giving to the whole community? Was that beneficial to you?
100%. It definitely jumped a good amount.
Yeah, and do you think that like foreseeably in the future, like I personally don't understand why EA doesn't want to make drops like an every single weekend thing because it seems like the directory goes from like having, you know, it could have 500 people in the entire world watching Madden in the directory on a regular weekday, or it could have, you know, it could quadruple if you have drops going on, or more than that. Do you think that EA is going to make drops more accessible or more common going forward?
I don't see why it would hurt them really. It gives you
Yeah,
like 470 plus overall players. Like, why not? Like, just make
yeah,
them every day. Give you 2 packs. Watch for 2 hours.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt the market. It doesn't hurt streamers. It helps streamers, and it really doesn't
yeah.
affect the market at all. So I don't see why they don't just do it every day. Maybe
That,
not early in the
seriously.
year, but at least like around this time, like January, February, streamers definitely could benefit from it.
Yeah, and you're right. I didn't even think of that. Every day, like really, there's no downside to it. I guess the idea is, oh yeah, it could flood the market with like cheap training, and it could, you know, but really with the how bad the pack odds are, especially for drops, like, you know, it's really just we're talking about a few thousand coins at best that an average player is getting. A lot of people are just going to quick sell them, use them for training anyways. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, so that's one thing I think EA could definitely improve on, just to really grow their game and you know for some reason you know Madden's a huge you know, EA is a multi-billion-dollar company. Madden makes a ton of money for the company, you know, just from like these microtransactions and people buying packs and stuff. Why not, you know, reach out to a wider audience? But alas, I guess we're not the people to make those decisions. No, another thing I want to talk about, you know, with the competitive season this year, like what would you say is your best Madden that you've been in, like where you've been super locked in? Was it that year when you won the club championship?
Yeah, probably Madden 20.
Yeah, and Madden 20 was you know very different than the current gen that we're seeing now. It was really powerful users. Like the movement, the stick that year was crazy. I remember like the stuff that you could do was a lot more like arcadey style. But do you miss
Mhm.
that style of play? Like what do you think about the move to next gen movement?
Uh, I like the old movement, but I feel like it's better for the game now. Like looking back at it, it's kind of insane how like fast and
Yeah,
quick everything was. It
yeah,
was uh, it was so hard to like tackle and stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it's still hard to tackle now, but you could do like 360s, stop and goes, all that stuff. It's
yeah,
obviously fun, but at the end of the day, I don't know. It depends on your outlook on the game. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't mind it if it went back to that, but the switch was rough at first, but now
yeah,
it's starting to
yeah.
balance out.
For sure. And, you know, I was a little bit late to the party. I was on PS4 for like until end of April last year. So it was a grind for me because nobody wanted to watch the old Madden when the new
Yeah.
Madden was out. But you know, when I did finally make the switch, it was amazing how much slower. It felt like your players were kind of stuck in the mud. Like the running animations last year, I was like, "Oh my god, this is slow." I do feel like it's gotten a bit smoother this year and a bit more realistic. I was talking to Gut Fox with the massive raid too. 493 viewers in the building. Let's go. Yo, what's going on,
Fox.
boys? I might have to show my feet here in a second. Yo, shit sucks. Muttmen. Hey, let's go. The Muttmen podcast is better. Damn, I'm getting trolled. Hey, appreciate you coming through, Gut Fox. Appreciate you sending the den in here, man. We're in the middle of a podcast right now with my guy JOKERCALE. So if you guys want to stick around for this, Muttmen is better. I'm getting trolled? Oh, come on. All right. Hey, how am I supposed to compete with that? Hey, I will say the Muttmen podcast is incredible. Share the space with me, Gut Fox. Give me I just need an inch. I don't need the whole thing. This podcast sucks. Oh my god, this is nasty. You guys are wild. But appreciate you guys coming in. Hit that follow button. We're gonna be doing the rest of this interview with JOKERCALE. We're just talking about competitive Madden right now. Appreciate everybody coming through, dropping follows, and hanging out in the chat. You get nothing, says Gut Fox. My god, get this fraud chat. Okay, we're toast. I'm gonna have to switch it to emote only. Mods, be on the lookout here. Somebody gift Gut Fox a sub for crying out loud. But boys, appreciate the love. The next question I wanted to ask you, Joker. As far as like getting ready for these competitive events, from a labbing perspective, like how hard is it for you to find? Like, have you had the same guys you've been labbing with since Madden 20 when you kind of went on that run, or does your group kind of change year to year? The guys you lock in with.
Madden 20, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like lab the game like with other people. I just kind of played and I just got better as it went on, and I ended up making an event, obviously, so that was nice. But as of the last 2 years, I've been playing with the same people for the most part.
Yeah, and how much time would you say you spend? Like, do you do a lot of your labbing on stream? Like when you're live for 6-7 hours a day, is that where you get a lot of your work in, or do you do reps like off stream even at this point in the season?
I personally am not the biggest fan of reps. I kind of like just playing head to head and getting a feel for like what everybody does, because I feel like you never know what you're gonna play against. So it's kind of nice to know what to do for certain things. If you're just playing reps versus people that run bunch and run trips and stuff, it's kind of hard to tell if you're gonna play someone like Colebolts, who actually won a game yesterday, versus Clef, who runs gun Y trips. If you're not playing head to head and stuff, you're gonna have no idea how to stop something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true. You can kind of prepare against the meta, but at the same time, the unpredictability. Like, I run into people, like, I swear I played a guy in head-to-head the other day who was running, like, near close flex. I was like, I haven't seen this since Madden 20, but obviously this guy's been running this offense for 3-4 years, and sometimes it's kind of refreshing to play against somebody who has a completely different play style. But, getting into the MCS, did you watch all the games yesterday? Were you kind of locked in, checking those out? Who kind of impressed you from the field yesterday?
I watched all the games except for the last one. I fell asleep like halfway through because it was getting kind of late. But honestly, the most impressive, I would probably say Colebolts. He played a really, really good game, and I feel like he actually deserved to win, which sometimes isn't the case in this game. But he played a really good game, and I'm actually surprised. I knew he was good because I've played him a few times, but he definitely surprised me yesterday.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to ask too, do you feel like there's good parity like between the talent that's on Xbox and PS, or do you feel like all the good comp is on Xbox essentially, this year?
I feel like PlayStation is really, really top heavy. Like the top 8 to 12 on PlayStation are really, really, really good, and Xbox I feel like runs a lot deeper. Like there's probably like 50 to 60 people that are like could compete for an event in comparison to PlayStation.
Yeah, I feel like MUT Champs, or at least Weekend League, if Weekend League was still a thing, would be a lot tougher on Xbox. I know personally, like, I'm on PS5. When I boot up, it's very rare that I match up with somebody I'm like, oh, I know who this is. Not even an MCS pro, but somebody who's essentially just a streamer who's normally better at the game. But going forward in MCS, so we got LCQ coming up shortly. When's the next LCQ going to be going live?
I'm pretty sure LCQ is next weekend, actually. So the qualifier is Saturday, and then the elims are Sunday, the day after.
Okay, and how's the qualification process going to be this year? Is it just matching up on Battlefly and playing a bunch of games against random opponents, or is it through ladders or anything?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Battlefly just for one day. I think it's going to be like 1 to 8, like a normal ladder day.
Yeah.
And I have no clue how many people make it. I haven't really looked into it too much yet, but I'm hearing people say it's only the top 32 make it to the next day. So it's going to be very, very sweaty.
Wow, that's wild. And considering the last time they did the ladder format, it was like, wasn't it like 4 straight days of ladders or something the last time? It was crazy. It was a lot of...
I think it was 6 straight days. It was 6 straight days from like 6 to 10 p.m., which was 3 to 7 West Coast time, which was really, really bad.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Like, do you prefer just having the 1 day high stakes, get super sweaty for 8 hours or 12 hours or however long, or do you prefer to have it kind of spread out over a longer period of time?
Honestly, I don't mind the whole 1 weekend thing. I just hate the fact that they make us play on Sunday during football. Like, the LCQ elims next weekend are going to be during the playoffs.
That's wild.
I don't understand why that's a thing.
That's pretty tone deaf, and I think it kind of goes along with the idea that, like, do people at EA actually watch football? Do the people developing the game actually watch football? It makes no sense, because the only reason that anyone would ever buy a Madden game is if they have some sort of working knowledge of football. You don't get a guy who's playing, COD and Fortnite, and they're like, oh, I'm going to try this game, this sport that I've never watched before. It doesn't work that way. So the idea of
Exactly.
of having that competition is absolutely kind of wild. Yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense to me either. But moving from the competitive scene of things, where you've had a lot of success over there, when did you decide to kind of start streaming in the first place, and maybe do what you do in front of an audience?
It's kind of the same thing about how competitive Madden became a thing. I started like playing in 18. I started to get pretty good. 19 started to get pretty good. So I was like, why not? I just started streaming from my Xbox because I was doing pretty good in Weekend League. So what I used to do, I used to stream. I used to only stream on Saturday and Sunday, like years back. So like I started streaming probably almost 5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
I would just boot up and play Weekend League every Saturday, Sunday. I would do like 12-hour streams because I used to not be able to play during the week.
Yeah.
So I'd have to play on the weekend, and I would just stream for like 12 hours and just do half a Weekend League, then do the next half on Sunday.
Yeah.
So
that's wild.
That's really how I started. I just started to get decent at the game, so I was like, why not? Let's just stream off my Xbox.
Yeah, and back when you were just doing 2 days a week, like for discoverability, for growing your channel, did you notice your channel starting to grow fairly fast, or was the fact that you were only on there for a couple days a challenge at first, like as far as numbers?
As far as numbers, it was kind of rough, but I mean, people knew me from the leaderboards, honestly. Yeah. So people would just come through and be like, even if they were just sitting in there to either play me or not play me, like it was nice to have. I mean, I probably averaged like 30, 40 people at that time, so... Yeah. It was definitely, once I switched to like more consistent, like maybe 4 or 5 streams a week, it definitely started to take off a little more.
For sure. And when did you kind of make that transition? Which Madden was it where you kind of became like a daily or, streaming almost every day?
My senior year of high school, actually. So not last year, but the year before, because I graduated in 2021. So my senior year, actually the end of junior year is really when it started, which was like 3 years ago. Yeah. Because we were obviously remote, so we were only technically having school for like half the day. So I would get off at like 12, like off of school at 12, and I would just stream until like maybe 4 when I would like finish school. So that's when I really started to stream more. And then senior year, I was on and off every day. So I had school one day, then I was off the next day. So I would either have 3 days of school or 2 days of school each week. Yeah. So I would just stream whenever I was off because I really didn't have much to do. So
that's kind of wild.
That's when it really transitioned.
How were you able to kind of figure out that schedule? Was it because were you in like just getting the last number of credits that you needed to graduate at that point, or were you? Yeah. Oh, nice.
I think I only needed 2 credits, but you had to take at least 4 classes. So how they did period 1 through 4 on one day, and then they did 5 through 7 the other day. So I only had 4 classes, so I was one day, then I had a break, then I had another day, then I had a break. So that's basically how it was. It was really good for a senior year. It was definitely good.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's pretty sweet. I think the closest I ever got to that was having a half day off when I had a couple of spares my senior year, but I still had to go to school till 12:15 every day, so that was kind of an L. But before we go on to kind of continue about the content creation journey and whatnot, what was that like? Because I always kind of wonder, as a teacher myself, and like there is a lot of like social aspect of like high school, and especially your senior year, like did you feel like the virtual school experience? How were you in virtual from like March until June of that year? Like, did it just continue all the way through?
Yeah,
did you feel like how did it feel like a regular school experience, or did you feel like you were kind of getting robbed of some of the other stuff?
I mean, honestly, I didn't mind it because obviously I was streaming and I played Madden a lot. So like I would be in class on Zoom just like looking at Madden on the side when content would drop and stuff like that. I honestly didn't mind it because like the people I would talk to outside of school, I would talk to anyways. So it's like I didn't have the biggest friend group. Yeah. Like I wasn't one of those people that would just talk to everybody. So it definitely was a nice switch in my opinion.
Yeah. For sure. It's funny too because like there was that couple of years there where a lot of people first year of college, all online. When I was, and again I'm going to age myself here, but like when I was in college, it wasn't really till like my last 2 years where like online classes started to like pop up more. And honestly, once I started taking them, I was like, oh my god, like I would have done this all the way through because I never liked going to my lectures. I never liked sitting through a 3-hour class with some guy talking to me and writing down notes. Like I can do the work, but I can do it on my own schedule, and I feel like it's probably the same thing you had with virtual school. Just get the assignments done and then focus on what you want to do and maybe do it in half the time as well. But when you started like kind of seeing this growth on your Twitch channel, like obviously you have over 15,000 I think on Twitch right now, so a really big base of fans who like to watch you. Have you expanded out like to any other platforms, or do you have any other goals for like potentially, I know you have a YouTube channel as well. Is that something that you'd like to expand into in the future as well?
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to get started on YouTube. If I'm trying to stay with this full-time content creator thing, I feel like you kind of have to branch eventually at some point to try to bring different incomes in. But
for sure,
I started a little bit at the start of last year. I went for about a month or two, and then I drifted off because I didn't have much time. But I definitely want to start getting back into it because it's definitely important. I also need to start posting on TikTok because that is, I don't want to say free viewers, but it's definitely an audience to be had. So
for sure,
that can help your stream a lot.
Absolutely. I went live on TikTok for the first time for this podcast, so they can only see my face. They can't even hear your answers. And honestly, I'm getting tons of people coming in here and tons of followers just from that. So I feel like if you can actually find a good way of doing it and put out quality content, the growth is crazy. Truth was talking about that yesterday. He's got over 15K on TikTok, and I know Geezy's been finding some glitches in the last few days. So hopefully that's something you're able to work in. As far as YouTube content goes, like, do you think when you get back into it, is it going to be a lot of gameplay type stuff, like trying to teach? Because you do obviously have a really good knowledge of what works, or are you more into the pack side of things? What do you see the vision being for that channel kind of going forward?
Honestly, I do want to keep it kind of mutt, but I honestly think I might try to shift into like the tips realm and just try to help people get better at the game. I feel like that's a good route to go down. But obviously I'll also have the mutt games, the gameplays, all that stuff. Yeah. But there's definitely people that want to learn how to get better at the game, and if they know who I am, they might be willing to click on the video and try to get better. So it's definitely a route I would probably like to go down.
Absolutely, man. You can definitely use like the big following you have on Twitch to grow those other platforms as well. But kind of the last thing that I kind of want to get into here, we talked about your origins, we talked about your video game experience, your comp experience. The new year just came a little while ago, and people traditionally like to kind of come up with this a resolutions list or a list of goals. Like, it seems like whenever the new calendar switches over, people kind of come up with these goals for themselves. Do you have any goals for yourself, like in the either by the end of Madden 23 or by the end of 2023 that you'd like to have in your channel, or do you kind of just play by ear and take it day by day?
I'm not the biggest fan of the New Year's goals thing, but I just want to keep doing what I do, honestly. I want to stay consistent. I want to keep streaming every day. I think the goal I set for followers on Twitch by the end of 23 was 20,000, so I'm about halfway there. We started the year at like 10 something, I think. So it's definitely possible. So that would be nice to try to hit that goal, but to hit that goal I got to stay consistent like I've been. So just got to keep grinding.
Absolutely, and I think that's kind of one thing that stands out to me is the consistency. Like, you're probably the most consistent, daytime Madden streamer. Like, you're in there locked in. How many days a week are you streaming currently? Are you on?
It's Monday through Saturday, so 6.
And then Sundays football, and unless there's LCQ that you got to compete in or something like that. Yeah, that's a W, man. 6 days a week, you're putting in full-time hours, and is this something, being your own boss essentially? Like, you've got your own business going, you're bringing in profits, you're finding ways to grow your business. Did you think, like, going through high school, this was something, the route that you'd like to take? Like, did you ever have like an ideal career in your head, or did you think, I want to go out and do my own thing?
I've never really had like anything set in stone, like, oh, I want to do this like for a job or something. So I kind of just stumbled upon this, and I started to grow as I was finishing high school. So I figured, when we finish high school, try this out for a couple years, see where we can go, and then I'll go to college if that's what needs to be done. But it kind of just is how it worked out, honestly. I've never like been like, oh, I'm gonna be a doctor, I'm gonna be, I don't know, a architect or something. It's just kind of let life happen, if you could say that.
Absolutely, man. And it's been really cool to kind of watch your success and see you grow and get to know you a little bit through the Vertex group and that group of guys that we have over there. But I wish you nothing the best in 2023, and hopefully you hit that goal of 20K and just keep going straight to the moon, man. But Joker, I feel like I've asked you a whole bunch of questions here. I had one question from the chat here, which I don't always catch, but Big Preem was asking, what do you think of the Denard card, and have you tried it? The Denard, was it Denard Robinson QB card? Did you end up trying him out on stream?
They changed his release yesterday, so I tried him yesterday at the end of stream. I thought he was pretty solid. His AP is just not the greatest. Like, he's definitely usable if you like him, then use him. Like, if you liked him in real life, but he's definitely solid. I would probably say he's around top 5 range for the game right now.
Yeah, and what release did they switch it to? What did he have to start out, and what did they switch his release to?
He had generic 1, which is what Joe Montana had when he got his first card a while ago. They switched him to Slinger 4, which is Josh Allen's release, which is probably like the 3rd or 4th best overall release in the game, so it's not bad.
Nice. And you're still using Randall Cunningham right now, I saw, right? Like I was watching your stream earlier.
Actually, see, I've used him a couple times. I think Elway's the best still. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a big Elway guy. I feel like every person I use, it's always back to Elway for me.
Yeah, for sure. That Slinger one, I mean, it's traditionally thought to be the best release in the game. I guess maybe a little bit tougher on deep balls sometimes, but like for the short and you know, if you want to get the ball to your hands quickly, definitely the way to go. Big Preem, appreciate you sticking around for the answer for that one. You asked that question like half an hour ago, so thanks for sticking around for the answer. But Joker, man, thank you so much for sitting down and doing this interview. It was really a pleasure talking to you, man. And yeah, wishing you all the best in 2023.
And you, man. Appreciate you having me on.